Hi, I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Welcome to a special edition of Education One. I'm going to take you back a year ago when we first started out in September. A year later, I still have the same guest that was started out with me at Education One. But we have another niche to Education One. We call it Education One Snapshot. We're going to round out everything in 15 minutes. We're going to bring you the world in Hartford in 15 minutes. And the guest I have today, her name, I call her Mrs. H. Her name is Hyacinth Yennie. She runs the most powerful NRZ in Hartford. And one thing I know about her, she loves education. 3 of her kids are actually big shots through the educational system in Hartford. She came from the Big J, Jamaica, and I'm gonna tell you right now, she's very successful after 30 years. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. So how have you been?
I've been busy. I've been seeing a lot of different things, and actually within the Hartford area, Hartford County, that education is actually is like a roller coaster.
Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, it gets more and more interested in the most, negative way.
Yeah.
I don't really think what's happening is really that some positive.
Right.
But I'm telling you, ongoing, it's always the negative outweigh the positive because the negative is so much.
Right.
Just reading the paper and see what's going on with the former superintendent of
right.
school. Now he's gone down to Windham and all those
Right.
places to make himself another name and
Right.
stuff like that for destroying the school system. And it goes on and on and on. And with our superintendent, doing her own thing, following the same path as he does,
Right.
coming out with new things. But I've got to let you know, I went to the last school board meeting, which was last Tuesday or so. And it was pretty much interesting in what goes on there.
Okay.
I can see her determination and what it is that she wants in general. And it's not to educate all children. It's just to educate the few. And
Okay.
that's her top priority, is to make sure these magnet and charter schools are getting all the funding they need to make sure education
And
works for them.
And the community schools just go.
Let just go by the wayside.
Exactly.
Yes. And it saddens me a lot. And actually, I had to get up and I spoke about the fact that we need to bring our community school back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because the fact is that our children, and the other thing I mentioned too was, we need to throw that test out.
Exactly.
Okay, we are not educating our children for the future or the world. We're educating them to take just a test, and that doesn't make us.
Exactly.
That doesn't make us a wealthy country. Okay, because when you're only boxing these kids in a test, what else do they know? Mm-hmm. I saw the beautiful art performance, and I said after the meeting, isn't this nice? Mm-hmm. And wouldn't this be wonderful to have every one of our school have this performing arts in their school as they used to?
Right, exactly.
Okay? Now everything is an academy.
Right.
Okay, that's what they call a school of portfolios. I always thought portfolios are, you have kids that comes in your school and these kids' portfolio, how they're learning and stuff like that, and
it's like a divider.
It's a portfolio, a journalist academy. That's a performing arts is nursing is just give them any name. Engineer. Why isn't engineer something that kids learn in a regular school? Why do we have to class them in different? And there's nothing behind these schools. It's so funny because we had a busload of kids from Achieve First, Hartford.
Okay.
And they came in there and they're so smart. Mm-hmm. Those kids spoke so well. I'm telling you, from 3rd grade up, they just read like. And I said after that, I went up and I spoke and I said, shouldn't that be in all our schools?
Right.
Huh?
Right.
Why is it that's only a few
Right.
that happens to?
Right.
Okay, these same kids that we are chartering off or we are magneting off could have done well in these regular school.
Right.
All right? Instead of what do? We segregate them.
Right.
All right? So tell me, are we really educating children or are we just teaching them to the test?
We're gonna get right to the nitty gritty of some of the articles, and one of the articles we actually talked about earlier before the show is actually special master keeps job.
Yes.
Abramowski stays but has pay cut. So my thing right now is we're looking at, it says right here on the second page, Abramowski has said he's expected he would take 3 years to reform to see a sufficient gain in students' achievement.
Yeah.
But it goes down here. It says in a statement submitted to the board, it says Randall Prose, president of the Wyndham Federation of Teachers, says that since Abramowski was appointed, test scores has plummeted.
Plummeted.
Now
Maybe it's the one just like Hartford where they duke the tests up.
So it says surely these results demand a closer look at efficientness of recent changes that were imposed by the special master. Now it goes on and says they really want him out. He jacked up Wyndham school system and he jacked up
Hartford
and
Hartford. Did you see where they had an issue? The state have to go in and do investigation in one of our Hartford schools because of the cheating and the school test. Okay,
that's this right here. Hartford test scores, cheating or success. That was in Hartford Current on 9/3/2013. That was just a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
I mean, right, like Labor Day. So I'm saying to myself, if we're pumping money into all these schools, and most of the schools is in the South End.
South End where?
North End. I mean, Beyonce.
Well, let's see. Let's say something here. I'm going to tell you something what between Adamowski and the superintendent now has done.
Right.
They came in and they have school that was blue ribbon school.
Exactly.
All right? Real neighborhood school, no fancy name or anything.
Right.
We're blue ribbon school because those kids were learning.
Right.
Okay? And they get high grades from really actually not just about the test, but actually doing well-rounded and everything. They have the music, the arts, everything that they need.
Right.
All right? And what did they do? Close those schools down.
Close the schools down.
The white school is now closed down.
Right.
They shipped all the kids over into Belize.
Right.
The Asian Academy.
Right.
Okay. So why do you have Asian Academy? Why didn't you just have a school that has Asian language, Spanish, and whatever language is in there? Why do you have to name it Asian Academy?
I mean, I put it this way. In Greenwich has a Japanese school. They have a Chinese school. They have a couple of different schools for the Jewish kids. They have special, but they have the wherewithal. They have the money.
They have the money. And those things are what they said they're giving. It's in those schools.
It's in those schools. We're not Greenwich. I keep telling everybody, Connecticut's divided between
Hartford it's
the tales of two cities.
Yes.
From New Haven to Springfield and from New Haven to Greenwich, it's two worlds.
Of course, it's two different worlds.
And I don't know why we're trying to be with the have and have not people. I don't understand that.
But here it is, and it was very enlightening at that board meeting, how Hartford regular kids got $7,000 per child, charter kids get $10,000,
right.
magnet school get $13,000.
Right.
How does that look to you? And majority of the kids that get $7,000 are the majority of children in our school system.
Exactly.
So why is that so? Huh? Because you know why? Their expectation for these kids in these regular school is very low.
Very
all right?
low.
They don't expect a whole lot from these kids. And that is the problem. Expectation is the most important thing. If you don't expect, every kid can learn. And what is with this thing about, okay, we are going to make sure all children learn from kindergarten up and stuff like that. But what happened? Has anybody actually followed where these kids are coming from before they get to kindergarten? Mm-hmm. What happened to all this money that CRT is pumping into preschool? Anyone check to see whether those funding are actually doing any good for these kids?
Because we talked about this, I think, the last time he was on the show, that there's no assessment and evaluation.
Well, this is what I'm saying. It's like you're throwing money in a sinkhole.
They said it was over $1.2 billion between the state agencies and CRT. There's nothing to actually, no guidelines or something where these kids went.
Exactly. So you tell me, if you are putting that much money in a program, shouldn't you have an assessment? Mm-hmm. These kids came in at this level, where when they leave, what level did they leave to? Where are they going? Are they spreading out? Are they going to Hartford school? Are they going to private school? Mm-hmm. Shouldn't that something you're actually, isn't that the way you work to make sure you say this is really actually working?
I think that in a nutshell, and how we look at things in Hartford, and you have to put in one word, is cronyism.
Yes, because even when you look at this here, test score shows urgency for school reform. Why is it that we're so focused around test score? Huh? If a child is well-rounded,
right,
that child will function.
Right.
All right?
Right.
But when you're only preparing them for a test, well, you know what? If there's anything beyond that test and that paper when the time comes to take that test, those kids are not going to pass it because they were only focusing on the test. So I think we need to get out of this thing about testing and get back to the basic. Basic, which is really important. Reading, writing, comprehension, and understanding what all these things are doing. Math, science, and all those things. That's what we need to get back. Music, arts, stuff like that. Have kids knowing all these things instead of just saying, oh yeah, school start, we got to get them ready for the tests.
What I don't understand here is, why are we focusing most of the resources on Global Communications Academy, and then we have actually money to go into Jamoki? When Jamoki started out, Jamoki was a private thing for kids to start out.
From the neighborhood.
Right. It started out with St. Justin's. When St. Justin's school closed, but the church was still open. And Pattyfoot started that. Pattyfoot died. He brought the old Jamaican way here. It was mostly West Indian kids. Fine. Kids are kids. I have nothing about it. But why are we taking it up a level and says, well, guess what? We're teaching this and teaching that. Now you're going out to the broader audience. Now you have a mixture of West Indian kids, black kids, Spanish kids, but guess what? You have to pay. And they're looking for a certain kid that actually can pass. Well, because they tell you from the beginning, if you cannot take these rigid
then you
courses,
can't be here.
You can't be here.
But the other thing that amazes me when I was at that meeting was one of the board members said something with this Achieve Hartford First. Well, superintendent, aren't you paying Achieve First for their test score? Well, it's like, it's almost like I wouldn't want to put it that way. Now here is it, that you give them a certain amount of money every year.
Yep.
And you can't hold them accountable because they're their own entity. They have their own board and everything like that.
Yep.
Why do you give them money if it wasn't for that? So those test scores could look good on her.
Right.
All right. And then the other thing is, they want the city of Hartford to build them a school. Build them a school, and still you have no connection in telling them, well, this is the way you have to run the school, or that way.
Right.
Okay. Does that make any sense to you?
Well, the guy that runs Achieve Hartford, I met him, and he's a little brass. And he said to me that if I wanted anything done in Hartford, I have to go through him to get to where I have to be. And I never heard anybody say that before, because when I built MC Square, I had community people like yourself that believed in me, Pastor Nair, Muhammad Akman, all of them. And this became a community-based type of program. Now, if I'm not caught up with the cronies, I go nowhere. So I left it alone. I didn't say anything. And I'm saying to myself, I'm not going to sell my soul. But what you have, you rob from me, because every program I have, somebody's trying to steal it. So if you're that smart from New Haven, you don't need a poor guy like me. But the thing about it is,
you have great ideas, and that's what I need. That's what it is.
That's it. So
I don't need you, but I get you to take your ideas.
Exactly, run with it. So I'm going to go to, Kishimoto. She's from the South Bronx. I'm going to go to Abramowski if he's not drunk. and he's not falling down, and I'm going to have those people back me, or I'll go to the commissioner, Stephen Breyer, which when you come into a town, you think the town is great, or you don't understand the political realm of Hartford, you got to be a quick study.
Yep.
And when you become a quick study, you know what you're going to say? I'm not going to shake no pillars in this town.
Right.
Once you start shaking the pillars like me and you, we may become the bad guys.
Exactly. And then you have the other thing about Hartford School Course Vital. Now, these are big corporations or people who doesn't even know anything about the real system, about this guy Hill here, Paul Hill.
Right.
Okay? You know, the way they speak, they think they actually know what's going on in our school system. Yes, I can put some beautiful statistic on paper and hand it to you, and you believe everything. But in reality,
It's not that way.
have you checked it out to make sure it's real?
Exactly.
Okay? Because only when you're in the trenches you can tell it's real.
Right.
Okay? And they're not looking at that. They're looking at, okay, well, she's got to stay around because she's really vital to this school reform. Okay? And what is this school reform? This school reform is not working because you're still leaving majority of our children behind. And that's what bothers me the most. Okay?
We have a minute left in the show because, again, how we did this show, we broke it up into a snapshot show within 15 minutes. And the thing about it is we're trying to bring as much information as possible within 15 minutes to let everybody know exactly what the nitty-gritty is in Hartford. If you was actually running the school system in Hartford, what's the first things you would do?
Well, the first thing I would do, I would want to talk to my teachers.
Okay.
Okay? I would want to connect with my parents, what it is that they want, what it is that they can do to make their children more successful. My teachers, let's look at our policy that we have. Let's look at our curriculum that we have and see, is it really working for these children? Do we have enough expectation for these children?
Right.
Okay? Let me talk to my teachers, really, because you know what? They're the one that's teaching. And they can give you a lot of input and what's working from what's not working.
They're the ground
All right?
soldiers. They're the
They
foot
are.
soldiers. They're the foot soldiers.
Exactly. And if I'm not hearing from those people, how can I just sit up there and say, okay, this is what I want you to do, and I want it to be done, and I don't really, I don't care if it works. I just want you to do it. Okay? But how does that reflect back on me? Okay? And how does it reflect back on our teachers? Because it reflects on our teachers bad. Because they're the one that's saying, you know, I know this thing is not working, but they want me to do it still.
That's an open door policy that I think that all superintendents or all people within the educational system throughout the United States should have.
But that's why it's important to have somebody who taught become a superintendent, understanding what it is that goes on in a classroom. Until you know those things, having respect for your teachers and your parents. If you don't have those things, then okay, I can sit up on my throne and I can, you know, put initiatives out there, and really all I need for you to do as a principal, just put something nice on a paper and give it to me, then I can report it back out there that, oh, these are beautiful and everything is working just fine. When indeed, if you look at our regular schools, they are falling apart.
Right.
Okay? When it's not the building structure,
Right.
is what's going on in the building.
We're going to stop you on that note. We're going to invite you back. Thanks for coming on the show. I'm telling you, we started the show with you. We started back the show with you a year later. And you know something?
And what's changed?
Nothing's really has changed.
So we talk and we talk.
Well, you know something? We don't think some things change this year. This is another episode of Education One. Well, we're going to actually bring back Mrs. H another time. But as I say every week, and I just will never change, if it's Tuesday, it's Education One. I'll see you on the internet. Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.